Good day, everyone. My name is Olakunle Arije. I am your teacher for biology. On this episode, we are going to look at the concept of biology, which is actually the first topic of biology. What is biology? Biology is the knowledge of life. Bios means life. Logy means knowledge. Therefore, biology is the knowledge of life. And moreover, when we say biology is knowledge of life, life in itself means living things. And living things are divided into two. We have the plants, we have the animals. So biology can also be defined as the study of plants and animals. Likewise, plant and animals are living things. So we can automatically say that biology is the study of living things. So this is what I have on the first slide. Biology is aimed to show or to explain the living world in terms of scientific principle. That's the first slide. Now on the second slide, we look at the branches of biology. What are the branches of biology? We cannot but skip some of them in the course of our learning. The different branches of biology include medicine, pharmacy, zoology, botany, microbiology, biochemistry, physiology, marine biology, taxonomy, histology, entomology, and so on and so forth. So if you have to study any of these in the university or in any higher institution, you have to have a good knowledge of biology to do this. So let's look at the meaning of some of these branches of biology. One of them is entomology. Entomology is the study of insects. And those are studying insects, their behavior, their habitat, how they mate, and everything about insects are called entomologists. So we also have another branch called zoology. Zoology is a branch of biology which deals with animals. Zoology is the study of animals, their behavior, and how they reproduce. So another one is botany. Botany is another branch of biology which deals with the study of plants, their structure as well as their behavior. Then another one is anatomy. It is the identification and description of structures of living. So how structures are described and identified is an aspect of medicine called anatomy. Another one is taxonomy. Taxonomy is another branch of biology which deals with the classification of living things, sorting of living things, grouping of living things based on their shared similarities. So taxonomy or classification is another branch of biology. So another branch of biology is histology. Histology. This is the study of tissues. Of course, we know that in plants, there are several tissues in plants. We have the xylem, we have the phloem, we have the parenchyma, we have the parenchyma, we have the ground tissue, we have the mesophyll layer. So many tissues are found in plants. And also in animals, there are several tissues in animals. The common ones are bones, cartilages, muscles, tendons, ligaments. These are tissues. We have the epithelial tissue, we have the connective tissue, we have a lot of tissues. So then another one is microbiology. Microbiology simply means the study of living things that are too small to be seen with the naked eye. Study of living things that are too small to be seen with the naked eye. This has to do with the group of microorganisms, the viruses, the bacteria, the fungi, the algae, and then the protozoa. This group of living things are microscopic. They can't be seen by just looking at the surfaces. Of course, we should know that guys are so small that they cannot be seen with ordinary microscope. So they can only be seen with the aid of an electron microscope. So another one is biochemistry. Biochemistry is the chemistry of the cell. It is a well-defined branch of biology, and it is very, very important in the medical field, because with biochemistry you can't be able to know how structures, how macromolecules are arranged, the structure of macromolecules, as well as everything that has to do with the functions of macromolecules. By listening to that, M stands for movement. M stands for movement. R stands for reproduction. R stands for reproduction. N stands for nutrition. N stands for nutrition. I stands for mutability. Mutability, or we can say sensitivity. Y stands for irritability or sensitivity. G stands for growth. E stands for excretion. R stands for reproduction. R stands for reproduction. D stands for death. A stands for adaptation. And then C stands for competition. So it's very simple. This is Mr. Najadak. Then we also have another mnemonics that is attached that we use for living things, and that is Mrs. Green. Mr. Najadak. We have Mrs. Green. Some use this to characterize living things. So N is the same for movement. R is the same for reproduction. S is sensitivity. Instead of irritability, the other call it sensitivity. G stands for growth. E, R stands for respiration. E stands for excretion. And N stands for nutrition. So these are 7 numbers, and this is, we have 10 of this, we have 10 of this, we have 7 of this. So either of the two, they all qualify a living thing. So this is what is expected of you to know for IGCSE. This is what is expected of you to know for Nigerian examinations, such as WAEC and JAM. So you have to know the 10 cancer relevant things. But when you're preparing for IGCSE, ordinary level, so you need to know that there are just 7 cancer relevant things, which is referred to as Mrs. Green. The next slide. Our next slide talk about the meaning of each of them. The first one is movement. Movement by living things is the ability of living things to change the position of their whole body or a part of their body from one place to another, yeah, in search of food, shelter, mate, in order to ensure their survival. So plants don't really move from one place to another, rather they change position. The leaf of plants move as a result of wind direction, changing the direction of wind. As likewise, the cells also make some movement, and so they also move by responding to stimulus of light. So all of these are movements exhibited by plants. But animals can easily move from one location to animals, but there are restrictions to that. Yet, there are few animals that do not move. For example, the adult hydra. Though the larva hydra can move from place to place, but the adult is stationary. The adult is sessile. The adult cannot move unlike the larva. So we have some animals like that do not change position, so to say. The adult stage do not exhibit movement, but the larva stage exhibits some kind of movement. Next slide. Respiration simply means that living things break down food substances or burn food substances. In quote, glucose. Glucose is burnt in food. Glucose is burnt in living things. In the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen, which is called aerobic respiration, or in the absence of oxygen, which is called anaerobic respiration, for use of energy, which is in the form of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. It is referred to as the energy currency of the cell. ATP is the energy currency of the cell. So we say that every living thing make use of energy. Either they obtain energy or they burn energy. In plants, energy is obtained from sunlight to make food. After producing their food, it is expected that plants will also respire. So they respire every time by burning the food produced for other metabolic activities. By burning the food produced for other metabolic activities. So the energy derived from the process is what we refer to as ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It is that which propel, it is that which on which organisms derives their what? Derives their energy. The next slide. Nutrition is the ability of living things to obtain food either autotrophically or heterotrophically for the maintenance of life, growth, and development. Now, when we say autotrophically, we are referring to two different modes of nutrition exhibited by autotrophic organisms. One is photosynthesis, the other one is chemosynthesis. These two are different methods used by living things to make food. The kind of living things that rely on this method to make food are essentially green plants, the green algae, the red and brown algae, as well as other organisms that can manufacture food on their own. For example, photosynthesis rely on energy from sunlight. Photosynthesis rely on energy from sunlight. So sunlight provides the energy for green plants to make their food. So green plants are essentially organisms. Green plants are organisms that rely on sunlight are organisms that rely on sunlight to make their food. Now, chemosynthesis is the use of chemicals. Is the use of chemicals, inorganic chemicals. It could be hydrogen sulfide, or any other chemicals by some set of algae, like the brown algae, the red algae, and then the blue-green algae. And the blue-green algae. All these algae make use of chemicals in their surroundings to manufacture their own food. So what we are saying is that autotrophic nutrition is a type of nutrition where organisms manufacture or make their own food by some series of processes, either relying on sunlight or relying on chemicals from their surroundings. Then the second one is heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophically. So when organisms manufacture their food heterotrophically, then we say that those organisms rely on ready-made food. They rely on ready-made food. Rely on ready-made food. So they could be regarded as holozoic. They could also be regarded as parasitic. They could also be regarded as saprophytic. So these different names refer to organisms that rely on ready-made food for survival. Holozoic are large animals. That rely on other animals as well as green plants for food. They could be divided into herbivorous, we have carnivorous, and then we also have the omnivorous. These set of organisms are holozoic. That is, they feed on working food materials. The herbivores are those animals that feed on plants directly. They include cow, they include sheep, they include goats, etc. Then we also have the carnivorous or the carnivore. The carnivores are those that feed on flesh. They are flesh eaters. E.g., we have the cat family, we have lion, we have leopard, we have tiger, So all these animals, they are carnivores. Then we have the omnivores. These are animals that feed on both plants and other animals. So these include man. Man is an example. This includes rats. This includes pigs. Pig, pig, man, rat are omnivores. These are animals that feed on varieties of foods. They can feed on both flesh, they can feed on animals, they can feed on plants, they can feed on different varieties of food substances. They are not limited or they are not restricted to a particular type of food. Now, we also have the parasitic organisms. Remember, I said that heterotrophically means that those organisms that rely on ready-made food. We have those that feed parasitically. That is, they are organisms that rely on other organisms for survival, thereby endangering the life of the other organism. So this is divided into host to parasite relationship, where the parasite benefits, that is, feed directly on the host, while the host suffer. Then we have saprophytes or saprophytic nutrition. This is a type of nutrition where just an organism feed on remains of organic matter or organisms that are already dead and convert them into decay form. So an example of a parasite is tapeworm. Example of the parasite is tapeworm. Example of such are fungi generally are saprophytes. Fungi, which is mushroom, toadstool, etc. All these are examples of saprophytes. Next slide. Irritability. Or sensitivity. Irritability or sensitivity, they mean the same. So by our own national examination, irritability is prominent, but by the IGCSE syllabi, sensitivity is often used. They both mean the same thing. Irritability or sensitivity is the ability of living things to detect changes is the ability of living things to detect changes in their environment. To detect changes in the environment, either internally or externally, and make appropriate response. So the kind of change they detect in the environment is what we call stimulus. So the change detected in the environment of an organism is referred to as stimulus. So the different stimuli are heat, cold, pain, gravity, light, water, touch, etc. So these are just few of stimuli that organisms detect from the environment. So organisms detect several stimuli in the environment. So there's a kind of response that goes after detecting of changes in the environment. So changes that are detected by living things in the environment is what we refer to as stimuli. There are several forms of stimuli that organisms can detect in the environment. It could be heat, it could be cold, it could be pain, gravity, light, water, touch, etc. So different organisms detect different stimulus in the environment. Growth is a permanent. Growth is a permanent or an irreversible. Growth is a permanent or an irreversible increase in size and mass. In size and mass of an organism, leading to development or maturity. Growth is a permanent or irreversible increase in size and mass of an organism, leading to maturity or development. Growth can be measured in terms of wet mass. Those are measured in terms of wet mass and then or dry mass. The most accurate of them is the dry mass. Dry mass is the most accurate of measurement of growth. Wet mass is inaccurate because it can also be subjected. Wet mass is inaccurate because the protoplasmic material of the organism can interfere with the measurement of growth. But dry mass simply has to do with the organism. The protoplasmic material of the organism being removed in terms of dry mass. So when we use the dry mass to measure growth, we get accurate results when we use the wet mass. Develop metabolic waste product from the cell of an organism is referred to as excretion. Waste products in plants. In plants, metabolic waste products in plants are usually in liquid or gaseous form. Metabolic waste products in plants are usually in liquid or gaseous form. For example, carbon dioxide, CO2, is a metabolic waste product in plants and is in gaseous form. Oxygen is a metabolic waste product of plants as in gaseous form. Then for liquid waste include alkaloids, gum, latex. All these are also metasal. These are metabolic waste products in plants and they are in liquid form. Now, in animals, most metabolic waste products in animals are also in terms of liquid form. Now, for example, and gases. For example, in animals, ammonia is a metabolic waste product in animals. Ammonia is a metabolic waste product in animals. Carbon dioxide is a metabolic waste product in animals. Urine is a metabolic waste product in animals. Urea is a metabolic waste product in animals. Uric acid is a metabolic waste product in animals, and so on and so forth. All of these are metabolic waste products in animals. They are all metabolic waste products in animals. And there are surfaces or structures that release these metabolic waste products in organisms. But meanwhile, we have to know that there's a particular substance which is never a metabolic waste, though it's in a solid form, but it's not a metabolic waste product, and that is physics. Physics is not a metabolic, it's not an excretory product. Physics is not an excretory product. Rather, it is a product of digestion. Rather, it's a product of digestion. So it is not an excretory product in animals. It is not an excretory product. The most important point there is kind. Living things cannot produce other new living things. Living things cannot produce offspring of another kind. It's not possible for living things to produce another offspring of another kind, because it has to be organisms of the same species. So organisms of the same species can interbreed. It's organisms of the same species that can interbreed. So in the course of interbreeding, then they produce offspring of the kind. But also, species of different kind cannot produce offspring which will have their genetic character. The most important thing about reproduction is that the new set of offspring should be able to also reprocreate, should be able to also continue to reproduce. Next slide. That is that all living things are definite, have a definite period of existence. So it is the end of a phase in the life of a living organism. Adaptation deals with the ability of living things to adjust to changes in the environment by either making use of the structure, by exhibiting some kind of behavior, or by showing or refer to changes in their color. Like chameleon can avoid predation by changing its color to suit that of the environment, or by camouflaging its color in order to avoid predation by potential predator. Competition is the ability of living things to struggle with one another for limited resources in the environment. Competition is the ability of living things to struggle with one another for the limited resources in the environment in order to ensure their survival. Competition is divided into two. You have intra-specific competition or interspecies and then inter-specific competition. Inter-specific competition is a type of competition that involves organisms of the same species struggling for limited space, struggling for shelter, struggling for food in the environment. Interspecific competition is competition between organisms of different species competing for space, food, and other limited resources in the environment.